Welcome back to The Real Story. So Thursday night at Rockefeller Center, NYC's mayoral hopefuls, 33-year-old Democratic Socialist Zohran Mamdani, former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, and Republican vigilante Curtis Sliwa ignited a 2-hour-long brawl over issues like crime, President Trump's political agenda, and the city's ongoing affordability crisis. Now, Mamdani, the polling frontrunner with a 13-point lead over Cuomo in pre-debate surveys from firms like Emerson College, dodged specific details on funding his $10 billion giveaway bonanza. Think free buses and rent freezes, while backpedaling on his old calls to defund the police. Then Cuomo, disgraced but battle-tested, running independent after his primary wipeout in June, hammered Mamdani's inexperience like a sledgehammer, warning the people that electing him would hand the keys to Mayor Trump amid ongoing fears of federal overreach on immigration and policing. Then, of course, there's Curtis Sliwa, the 71-year-old Guardian Angels founder, who stole the show as the ultimate interrupter, mocking Mamdani's fantasies and Cuomo's scandals with street-smart singers that even had the moderators smiling. As for the impact, you ask, this November 4th election just got a whole lot closer, with Mamdani's calm facade cracking under fire, potentially eroding his 45% support as undecided voters, hovering at just 20% per recent data from Quinnipiac. So to that point, post-debate stat polls show that Curtis Sliwa surged 5 points among independents, while Cuomo clawed back 3 points, proving that experience still packs a punch in a city weary of radical experiments. As for the knockout moment in the whole charade, this extremely fiery exchange on Mamdani's track record, in which Cuomo snarled he literally has never had a job, prompting Mamdani's weak retort about his lived experience in the Big Apple. Take a listen.
He literally has never had a job. On his resume, it says he interned for his mother. This is not a job for a first-timer.
I have the experience of being a New Yorker, someone who has actually paid rent in the city before I ran for mayor.
Wow. I think that says it all. But here with his reaction and his thoughts is Eric Eggers, Vice President of the Government Accountability Institute. Eric, thank you for being here.
Hey, it's my pleasure. And I have to tell you, Riley, as a Floridian, I enjoyed all 2 hours of that debate because for 2 hours, I could just feel my property values going up as people like clawed and raced to escape the city. Come on down to the Sunshine State, people. We got zero income tax.
I have to say, as a Californian, that sounds very tempting, Eric. But it does speak to this broader point because Mamdani, self-avowed socialist, never worked a job, a champagne socialist, very hoity-toity upbringing, and he's trying to convince New Yorkers that he's capable of running America's most important city. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I don't think he's capable of running America's most important city. But then again, I don't know that New York City is something that you would say, well, look, we just need to keep doing it the way we're doing it. Because if you ask people to come up with like the top 50 words they would use to describe New York City, I don't think well and run would be in there. So the problem is there's a reason why people are willing to give a 33-year-old Democratic Socialist with no real-world experience a shot at it. The reason why he's leading the polls is because it's so expensive and crime is out of control. And people are saying the status quo is not working. We got to try something else. And unfortunately, the alternative to Zohran Mamdani, like I love that you called Andrew Cuomo battle-tested. You know what else is battle-tested? France in World War II. They didn't win. Neither did Cuomo. That's why he's running as a dang independent. So, it's a series of bad choices. And I loved hearing Curtis Sliwa, and I loved hearing him say Zohran's fantasies. I would love to see a book narrated by Sliwa called Zohran's Fantasies. Unfortunately, it would do much better on Amazon than he's going to do in the actual election.
Absolutely. But the fact that Mamdani is even on that stage to begin with speaks to something that's very strange. This growing appetite for socialism in America, a system that has literally never worked and a system that can't work. And for reasons so obvious, Eric, even a child could understand it, right? In a socialist society, the government runs everything. There's no competition, so no incentive to be efficient, productive, or to use your resources wisely. So the result? Inefficiency, waste, pain, suffering, food shortages, the list goes on and on. So I want to get your thoughts about this very strange growing appetite for socialism in America.
Yeah, Riley, it's a great question, and it's a really fascinating idea. So let's just take one of his proposals, which is the fare-free buses. Now, he's saying that the actual reason for that is it reduces transportation costs, and studies do show that fare-free buses will increase ridership among lower socioeconomic people. But his real reason for promoting it is he thinks it will help speed up buses so people aren't getting stuck in lines to pay the fares, and it makes it safer for the bus drivers because people aren't fighting them, which just speaks to the crime element that exists in New York City. But that's, it's incredibly expensive, and it hasn't really worked in other cities. There's a reason, like Kansas City abandoned it, said it was a total failure. So, he wants to do health care, wants to do child care for everybody. He wants to freeze rent control. There's a reason these places haven't done it. It's because it doesn't work, and eventually they say the problem with socialism is you run out of other people's money.
Bingo.
And so it is all fanciful. Even the governor of New York has said they're not going to raise taxes high enough to pay for what Mamdani wants to do. So it is purely a fantasy. He's attempting to sell the citizens of New York. The problem, Riley, is that Republicans are all about it, right?
Yes.
Sliwa, by staying in the race, does a couple things. Number one, he ensures, I think, Mamdani wins, but he also then helps Republicans paint Mamdani and AOC and Bernie Sanders as the face of the Democratic Party heading into the fall of 2026, which is exactly what they want.
So, to your point, though, do you think someone like Mamdani really represents where that party is going? Because if so, Eric, then they are in huge trouble going into the midterms.
I mean, yes, right? It's like, what's the phrase, Riley? When someone tells you who they are, believe them the first time. They held, I mean, it's unusual for the Democrats because they don't always hold primaries. They didn't for president in 2024, but they actually held a primary for mayoral candidates, and Mamdani won by a lot. So, yes, I do believe that that's where the party is going. That's where the energy is. There's a reason why they're talking about AOC possibly challenging Chuck Schumer for Senate in New York, right? That they are trying to elevate these candidates, and people believe that when you run unabashedly on progressive principles, that on some people think, look, it's going to make New York less expensive. That's actually how Mamdani elevated in the first place. The bureaucracy in New York was making like falafels too expensive. He did a bunch of videos about that. Rent's too high. New York's incredibly expensive. So here's somebody saying, we're going to tax rich people and we're going to make your life more affordable. A majority of New York Democrats clearly like that idea. That's why they voted for it.
I'll say this, obviously there are some real issues here. The cost of living is too high. You chalk it up to inflation. It's food, fuel, clothing, healthcare, it's everything. So these are real issues, but if you're a New Yorker, which I'm not, but if you are one, you have to ask yourself, who's been running this city for years now? It's one party. There's a Democrat supermajority. It's a stronghold for the party. So it's a little weird to me to see someone come along and say the exact same logic that put us in the situation is somehow going to fix the problem. That is something I do not understand. So I think this whole thing, Eric, is really about the fact that there isn't a strong conservative challenger. I like Curtis Sliwa. I like what he stands for, and I like his energy. But if we had someone like Ronald Reagan on the ballot or Milton Friedman, I don't think it would even be a close election whatsoever. What do you think?
I think you should write a book called Riley's Fantasies, because like only it would take a Ronald Reagan or a Milton Friedman to give a Republican a chance in New York City. I mean, Mike Bloomberg was probably the closest we're going to get to a conservative running that city, and I think he did fairly effectively. And then you've had the nightmare years of de Blasio, where you see these socialist policies lead to all sorts of cultural rot. Which then, kind of leads to Eric Adams. So, it's a pendulum that swings back and forth. It's sad because New York City is a great city.
It is.
They have, it's an incredibly important city. It's an American city. We should want New York to be successful.
Amen.
We understand why people are wanting something else. It's unfortunate that the thing that people in New York want is a 33-year-old with no real-world experience who 5 years ago was tweeting about defunding police and saying that they're anti-queer and racist. And it's unfortunate that he's probably going to win because the other alternative is a guy who 5 years ago was unfortunately sending senior citizens to their death because of his arcane COVID policies. New York is a dumpster fire. And it's unfortunate, and we're going to have to just wait until the things burn out, and we'll see what's left of the ashes. But I do believe that the New Yorkers are resilient people. It's a great city. They will survive this. But I think it's unfortunate that we're going to have to see this political experiment play out with real-world consequences.
I hate to admit it, but I think you're right. However, it brings me to my final and most important question for you today, Eric. And it's really just about the trajectory of the Democrat Party. What I see is a party that's obviously very divided. They have lots of issues. There's a power struggle going on. You mentioned AOC and Chuck Schumer, so obviously this is a very divided party. And I'm just wondering which side is going to win. Do you think it'll be the sort of old school JFK era, liberals that we've all known for decades? Or do you really think there is an unstoppable communist takeover happening in that party?
Riley, I think you know the answer to this. I mean, JFK in 2025 would be a Republican. Heck, Barack Obama in 2008 would be sort of a Republican in terms of his immigration policies, right? So I think that the trajectory that the party went in 4 years in the post-2020 under Joe Biden, who was auto-penning his way to just hoping he could sleep in terms of getting reelected, it's insane what's happened. That's the reason why 3,000 counties voted more for Donald Trump in 2024 than they did 4 years ago. The country has moved away. They have rejected what the modern Democratic Party stands for, which is why Democrat leaders like Chuck Schumer are terrified that Mamdani is going to win. He has not endorsed Mamdani, Chuck Schumer. Hakeem Jeffries has not endorsed Mamdani. There's a reason for that, because they know that is not what the country wants. If Democrats want to win, they cannot embrace these policies. But that is where the energy is, and so it's right. There's a very real tension playing out in real time, and as a conservative, it's kind of just fun to watch.
That it is, but also unfortunate and confusing. Having said all of that, though, Eric, I thank you for your time today and for your insight, too.